Good evening. We're starting a new topic today. It's talking about inheritance. This means by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to predict what would children look like after looking at their parent appearance. Actually, we have a list of words I said to you earlier today. First one, it is appearance. For some, the eye color, the hair type. We have a word for this. We call that phenotype. The word phenotype is another word for someone's appearance. Another word is their genotype. Genotype is someone's genes, like all sets of genes, eye color, hair color, blood type. All of these, we call them their genotype. Another one is what we call, like, for instance, eye color is a phenotype, right? But you can see that eye color comes in many different forms. We call different forms of a gene, we call them alleles. So an allele is actually a different form of a gene. First one was appearance. Appearance is, we took another word for all of your genes. We called it genotype. And we've seen the word for allele, which is having different versions of single gene. We have another word for having full number of chromosomes. We took it before, actually. This one is called diploid. So diploid is like someone who has all of the genes. Like for humans, diploid is 46. You have another word for haploid. Haploid is when it's half the number of chromosomes. Half the number of chromosomes, we call it haploid. And that's the case of sex cells or gametes. So that is what we call it here. But how do we go from diploid to haploid? Diploid to haploid, we do a special type of cell division. It's a reduction division, meaning you go from full number to half number. That's what we call meiosis, right? When this guy, for instance, turned those two chromosomes into one in his sex cell, that's what we call from here to here. It's always meiosis. Another word for sex cell, like sperm and egg, is gamete. And we actually took this one in the lesson of DNA, a section chromosome responsible for one of your traits, like for instance here. This section is for eye color. So what I call this is the gene of his eye colors. So that is gene, left with just two words, having identical alleles. Like we got two copies of every gene. If someone has two identical alleles, like for instance this lady here, she has two alleles, two identical copies of blue eye color. In this case, I would call her homo. Homo means same, okay? For some people, like if parents have two different eye colors, one parent has brown, one parent has blue, like this child here, right? He has inherited one for brown eye color. He has inherited one copy for blue eye color. In this case, we will call him heterozygous. So heterozygous when having two different copies of the eye color. That's when the parents have different eye colors. So once again, let's recap on the words. We took a word for appearance, the way you look, phenotype. All of your genes is what we call your genotype. We got different copies of the gene, meaning the eye color is a gene, but it comes in many different forms. We call that alleles. Some people have two identical alleles. We call them homozygous. Some people have different alleles. That is heterozygous. Okay, so again, this might not be very friendly, but again, these are all the words we're going to learn today. Makes it easier if you just keep this sheet in front of you while I'm talking, so I know what I'm talking about, okay? So let's take this example. There is this guy whose eye is brown, and this is his wife, and her eye color is blue, right? And you can see each one of them is homo, meaning each one of them has identical copies of his eye color, right? So like her, for instance, he has two copies of blue eye color, right? Now, during meiosis, when they're making their sex cells, what is going to happen here? He will pass only one of these chromosomes into his gamete, and she will only pass one to her sex cell, the egg cell. As these fuse, what's going to happen? The child will either have the brown or the blue. If someone has this, then that's not a normal thing. But that's not our concern here. Our concern now, what is going to happen here? So those are haploid. They're going to fuse up, and we're going to end up with what? We're going to end up with diploid, like the baby I have here. Now, note, the baby here has brown eyes. Why isn't that the baby got the brown eye? He did not get the blue. Simply because in humans, having brown eye color is stronger. The allele for brown eyes is stronger, called dominant. It covers up, it masks the effect of blue eye color. Like in my case here, the brown, look at he has inherited this from his dad and he's inherited this from his mom. But nevertheless, he ended up with brown because the brown eye color is dominant. All right, so the same baby here, remember that baby was just born? The same baby grew up and became this guy here, right? Remember that baby was heterozygous, right? He was heterozygous because he has inherited two different alleles for eye color. He has brown and he has blue. He is heterozygous, right? Now, what's going to happen here? His wife has two identical copies of blue eyes. What's going to happen in this case? Let's find out. He will either pass the brown or the blue. He can't pass both brown and blue into his sex cell. So the sex cell will either have blue or brown. Okay. And what about her? She has no options because both of her egg cells have the same blue eyes. So she's going to be like this, right? So let's think about it. If this blue and this blue fuse up, obviously the child is either way. If this was the egg cell and this was the sperm, this time the sperm has brown eye color. What will be the baby like? He is going to be brown. Remember why? That's because the allele for brown eyes is stronger. It's dominant, right? So that's the case here. So again, we have two kind of babies that possibly be born. They could be either blue or they could be either. Note, you can only be blue-eyed if you have inherited both alleles from either parent for blue eyes. So again, the only way that somebody will show that weak trait, we don't call it weak trait, actually we call it recessive, if you have inherited both alleles from both parents for blue eyes. Now, what's the chance of her to have brown? And what's the chance of her to have blue? Let's think about it. So again, she could be, the child will inherit the brown. I'm going to put B capital for the dominant, right? And I'm going to put B small to imply that it's weaker, like recessive, which is blue, okay? So what's going to happen here? The X cell was always blue because the mom was homozygous. What's going to happen here? We're going to check all possible options. First option is like this, capital B small. The second option is going to be this sperm and this egg, right? So this time, like this. Third option is going to be this sperm and this egg. So still brown. And the last option is these two gametes here, right? So as you can see, out of 4 possibilities, right? We ended up with half blue and the other half was brown. So 50% brown, 50%, right? We usually call this type of squares to predict the appearance or the phenotype of the children. We call this a Punnett square. And you get these outcomes. And from there, you count how many are brown, how many are blue, and then you can predict. Let's try something. Let's recap on genes and alleles. Like, when do you say a gene? And when do you say an allele? For instance, if I say someone's blood group is such, that's a gene, right? But if I say his blood group is A, then that's an allele. You see the difference? This is general. This is the entire gene here. But this is just one possibility, one type of it. You may have blood group B, blood group O, and so on. Hair type is like what? Hair type is general, right? It's a gene. But having curly hair, that's an allele.
Fur color is a gene.
Okay.
And black hair is an allele.
So again, in other words, a gene is the general thing, the position of specific part of DNA responsible for your traits. An allele is just different types of it, right? All different eye colors, right? Or all different skin tones. Those are alleles. His eye color, that's his phenotype, right? It's a dominant trait, brown. His genotype, like what? Genotype is all of his genes. He could be brown like this, or he could be like that, right? He would still be brown this way, right? Why? Because the B capital here, the dominant one, will mask the effect of that recessive. So if somebody shows brown eyes, he could be dominant, homozygous, or he could be heterozygous. Either way, he is brown, right? BB capital, brown. Capital B small, it's still brown-eyed. What about her? She shows a recessive trait, right? So her phenotype, that's for a recessive trait. She's blue-eyed, all right? Her genotype is only one possibility. Her genotype is only that. Does that make sense? Look at his genotype. His genotype is like this. He got B capital, okay? Can somebody tell me what is his eye color first? And how do you describe such a genotype? Lamar?
Sir, the first one gonna be dominant,
All right.
brown eyes.
That's right. Absolutely.
He's gonna have brown eyes.
So still brown. Very good.
Heterozygous.
Heterozygous. And the third one is like this. He has B small. So what is his eye color? And how am I going to describe it? Leanne?
It's gonna be blue.
It's only blue, right? So if somebody shows a recessive trait, then he can only be blue.
I have a question. Why is the first one dominant and the last one recessive when they're both homozygous?
Can we say that brown is the dominant?
Always whenever it's brown, it's always dominant.
In my example, yeah, remember? Again, let's work on those examples we have here. Okay, so first one. What am I going to call this guy's eye color? Can you choose from the words at the bottom to match those letters at the top? Alia?
His recessive phenotype.
So A is recessive phenotype.
C is homozygous recessive.
So homozygous recessive.
Zygous.
G is heterozygous, right? Abakir?
B is homozygous dominant.
So that is homozygous dominant. You meant
I
D,
mean,
right?
D.
Any clue? Nisma?
F is offspring phenotype.
So that is offspring. Offspring means child, right? Offspring means baby, like this case. Still have a sex cell. And I have dominant phenotype like this. All right, all good. Now I want somebody to try to match these with one another. I put the definitions here, and your job is just to match each one of those terms on the left with their meaning on the right. Can you try, Jenna?
Allele is different forms of gene.
So allele, different forms of a gene. That's good.
Homozygous is two identical alleles.
Two identical alleles.
Hetero is two different alleles.
That's amazing. Very good.
Dominant is allele that's always visible.
So an allele always visible.
Type is all alleles of an organisms, and phenotype is sterile appearance.
Now, we're going to set some rules that will help us for all what comes after. And as you can see, I'm only using eye color because it makes it easy for us. Whatever applies for eye colors applies for everything else, right? So we're just using eye color here as a model, but this model can apply for every trait we have in animals, humans, or plants. My first rule, look what it says. One B capital is enough to have a dominant appearance. Meaning, if this guy shows brown eyes, right? His genotype could be one of two things, and either way, he will still have brown eyes. Can someone state what two possible genotypes for someone who shows the dominant trait? So what am I supposed to pick as his genotype? Lamar?
Sir, B capital, B small.
Thank you. But for her, what's the only possible genotype that this lady can have?
Too small.
So she can only be two small b's because she shows a recessive trait, right? Now, in my case here, we're going to try to predict what is the possible genotype and phenotype of those parents. So take a look. In my example here, those couple have children, and every single child they have had brown eyes, right? Okay, so all the children they had were brown-eyed. What should be the genotype of that, and what should be the genotype of the mom here? Can someone predict? If 100% of the children had brown eyes, what is the genotype of the dad and the mom in this case?
The father could be capital B.
So that is right. Again, she chose big capital for the dad because he's brown-eyed to start with, right? But since every child is showing brown eyes, that he must be this way, right? Why? If he was B capital B small, then half the children would have been blue, right? But he must be B capital. For the mom, I don't have options, right? Because she shows blue eyes, and that's the only option. Remember how we used to do those Punnett squares? You do top times left, top and left, and top and left. So you can see all children showing brown eyes. They're all heterozygous, right? They're all heterozygous. And they're all brown because they got the capital B here, right? One copy of this, it's enough to show the brown eyes. Again, the rule says if one parent was B capital, then there's no chance for any child to have any different eye color. Does that make sense? Let's try another one. In my case here, one of the children had brown and one of the children had blue, right? So again, see? One of the children looks like his father, and one of the children looks like his mom. Can someone state the genotype of the father and the genotype of the mom here? Anyone? So I want to figure out what is the genotype of the dad and what's the genotype of the mom in this example.
B capital and double B small.
That's a good try. But look, my friend, if he was double B capital, then every one of those children must have a B capital, right? Don't you agree? Then they have been both brown. So instead of choosing for the dad double B capital, what am I supposed to choose instead?
B capital B small.
It must be that way, right? So it must be B capital B small. For the mom, we don't have an option. She's B small, right? So therefore, when we cross them, so that's B capital. Sorry, that's the dad is B capital B small. And that's the mom B small. So you can see here that is B capital B small. 50-50, right? 50% are brown, 50% are blue. So that's 50% rule. So what does my second rule say? If one parent was heterozygous and the other one is homozygous recessive, how much is that chance? You said that the chance here is 50%.
Can this determine the skin color?
How is it going to determine? So we have somebody
Like
who's
white skin color has brown.
No, with skin colors, a bit different than this. It's not like as straightforward as this. I'm just trying to simplify it so we can apply it to more general things. But yeah, in humans specifically, things are way more complicated than the way we stated here. And who else has a question? Sorry.
I asked one previously. It was, there is still a chance for a parent with B, the capital B small, and another parent with B small to have all their children having brown eyes.
That's a good point you're making here, right? It's a matter of luck, right? What's the chance of, if you have like head and tail, right? Head, tail, head, tail. I may flip the coin 20 times and by luck, I get head, right? It's just a matter of luck.
Okay.
But nonetheless, if you do it on a large scale, you will always get that 50-50. Now, my other case here, she's brown, he's brown. Both of them have brown eyes, but whoops, the child shows blue eyes, right? So how is this possible? Parents having one eye color and the child is totally different. Who could possibly explain to us how did this actually happen? So what should we pick as a genotype for parents in such a case? Anyone? What is the likelihood? What am I going to pick for either parent? Lamar?
So if both have the recessive gene, so there's like 25% chance of the kid having blue eyes.
That's right. So I'm going to pick here for the dad, B capital B small. And for the mom, I'm also picking B capital B small, right? So in this case, if both are brown, again, you're B capital B small, heterozygous, you are brown eyed, right? But inside, you hide that recessive trait, right? So that case, when you do that square, what am I supposed to get here? I get homozygous dominant, heterozygous like this, still brown, right? Heterozygous and homozygous recessive. So what's the chance here? The chance is 25%. 25% chance to be what? To be blue. 75% to be brown. Usually that's one of the most important rules, and you find so many questions all about this particular rule here. What it says, if parents are brown-eyed like these and the child is blue-eyed like this guy, then what's the genotype of the parents? It's going to be heterozygous, okay? And you usually put it for you like this. They put it for you as a family tree. What do those family trees represent? They represent something like this. When it's a circle, it's a female. And when it's a square, it's a male. And you see these here? These are the children because they're connected to the parents. This is their daughter-in-law. So this is not the daughter of those parents. You know, this is their daughter-in-law. And these two are their grandchildren. From such a diagram, I can predict the genotype of every single parent. How? Can someone predict what genotype are the grandparents? Anyone? Hayat?
Capital B.
So they must be both B capital B small because they got a child who has blue eyes. Child D is easy to predict, but I can't predict the chance of C. C is not clear for me. Why I'm not sure about C? Because C could be that way or that way, right? homozygous dominant or heterozygous, again? Because if you show the dominant trait, it's difficult to tell your genotype. It could be this, it could be that. I need to see her children. Maybe that will tell me. But for E, I can tell. Can someone predict what the genotype of E and F? Can someone predict? E and F. Anyone? Eugene?
B capital B small.
They must be both heterozygous because they got a child who's looking different. I know G for sure. I'm not sure about H. I need to wait for his children because it could be this or it could be that.
So what if it was a person with green eyes and a person with blue eyes?
It's not very straightforward. As I said before, it's hard to predict. You need to see their parents. You need to look up to their grandparents. So you can't predict in other words. Aiden?
Is there any test to check, or is it just you see your children?
You have to wait for the children. There's no, yeah, you may do like DNA tests, but nobody does a DNA test to find his eye color. They do DNA tests to check if there is a disease, right?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. My last rule is this, right? If one parent is blue and the other one is blue, there's no way, no matter what happens, to have any child who's not blue-eyed. Why? Because the entire family, there's no B capital. The whole family I have here doesn't have any B capital. So that's the case here, right? Every allele is B small. Then they're all homozygous recessive, okay? And again, what I'm trying to, this is high school level, secondary level genetics. We don't have all the answers to your questions, but those are the basics, okay? Now, let's try something else. What is the genotype of the mom in this case? I want you to try this as A, B, and C, okay? I want you to pick what is the of the mom if all of her children, 100% of the children, had brown eyes. See the child's eye that is brown. You can see that's brown here. Okay, I'm waiting for everyone. Yeah, so they must be what? She must be B capital, okay? Why? Because if it's 100% brown, then she has to be like this. We know the dad is like that, so therefore every child must be heterozygous, okay? Got it? Okay, my second question is like this. We want to find the genotype of the dad this time. So is it going to be A? Is it A, B, or C? He shows blue eyes. That's straightforward. You must try to answer it. Any clue? No, don't give me two options. Give me one option, okay? Blue eyes is this, right? Show recessive traits. He must be B small, okay? My next one, everyone is brown. We want to look at the baby this time, okay? So is it A? Is it B? Is it C? They're all brown-eyed. 100% are brown. So what would you expect the baby's genotype to be? The dad was B small, we decided. The mom is B capital, right? So what is the baby? Baby is heterozygous, right? One is B capital, one is B small. Everyone is hetero. Agreed? 50-50. Half the children is brown, half the children are blue, okay? What is the genotype of the mom? She must be what? She must hetero. Because half of her children are brown, half of the children are blue. For that reason, B capital, B small, the dad, you get 50-50. All good so far? Next, I have this. I want both parents. I want you to identify what the genotype of the parents in this case. The child is blue. So the child here has that blue eyes and the parents are brown, right? What am I supposed to choose for the parents this time? We say that if parents have one phenotype and the children looking different, then the parents must be what? They must be capital B small, right? Like this. And how much was the chance here? The chance was 25%. Last one. It says here that parents are blue-eyed. What is their phenotype of the baby? We know it, right? Take off his glasses. You realize that he must be blue-eyed. 100% he must be with blue eyes. The genotype of the father and the mom are B smalls, so there's no way he will get a B capital. Okay, so let's get to the first statement. It says children of parents who are both B small must always be blue-eyed. Do you agree or disagree?
Agree.
It's true, right? First one is true. Second one says a brown-eyed man has blue-eyed baby. Okay? The man should be, I'm not saying must be, I said should be capital B small. That's true, very good. Those two, if they ended up with a child who's blue, then they must be both B capital, B small, right? And who knows the third one? No, third one, when both parents are B capital, B small, there's no chance. No, there is a chance. Who knows how much is the chance here? How much is the chance if they're both B capital, B small? What's the chance of having a child who is blue-eyed? Any clue, Yara?
25%.
The next one, the only way to be blue-eyed is to be homozygous genotype. Who knows if this one is true or if this one is false? Carmen?
True.
That's true, right? It must be true. It must be small. If one parent is B capital, there is no chance to have a child who has blue eyes. Let's try with Mia. Is this true or false? What do you think? If one parent is B capital, there's no way. True or false?
It's true.
True. Very good. And what about the last one? If a blue-eyed child was born to brown-eyed parents, okay, then the both parents must be B capital, B small. Do you guys agree or disagree?
True.
That is true. Very good. Okay. Do you have any question about what we have done so far? This time, we're going to try to find out the genotype of someone who has dominant trait. So change the eye color. Now we're talking animals. Let's say you have this guy here has brown fur. She has white fur. And we don't know whether his genotype is B capital or B capital because in those rats, or mice, whatever you'd like to call them, brown is dominant. So again, I'm saying here that brown fur is dominant to white. How am I supposed to tell? We do what we call a test cross because he could be B capital, B capital, B small. To start with, what's a cross? Cross is like marriage. You may call it cross, you may call it breeding. In a question, you see someone say, we have crossed rats. Crossing means like they married them, they bred them together. Now, if we end up with such a case, if we did that test cross and we found that all the children, all the baby rats are brown, what does that tell you about the genotype of the parents? Aya, can you tell what's that genotype of the brown rat here? What's it going to be? Aya says he must be cat, right? Because every one of them, 100% are brown. What about the other one here? If we got the other option, if half were brown, half were white, what does that tell you about the genotype of the parent in this case? What do you think? Muhammad, is it going to be B capital Muhammad or is it going to be B capital B small?
It's gonna be B capital B small.
That's right. So that gives you that 50. And again, you must do several tries. You must wait to get like at least maybe 40 offspring to decide. You cannot decide by having 4 children, right? Because by luck, you may have 4 whites. Or you may have 4 brown, and that will be misleading. What's a test cross? This is just like what we've done here. We bred mice to determine the genotype of whom we try to determine the genotype of the dominant parent. Make sense? Now, I want to show you some weird case. And it's about these rabbits. We bred these rabbits, but it seems that we don't have full dominant here. What does that mean? When I checked their child here, it turned out that he has both. Look at his fur. He has both brown and white at the same time. What does that tell you about black and white? It tells you that black and white are equally dominant. White is not dominant to black. Black is not dominant to white. For that reason, when I want to write their genotype, what do I write? I write like WW like this, and I write black like this. Did you notice that I did not use B capital and B small? Because if I use B capital and B small, then I'm implying that one color is dominant to the other. And in this case, what would be the genotype of that baby or the bunny here? He's going to be black and white at the same time. Do you know what I call this? We call this co-dominant, meaning co means both or together, and it means that their both colors are equally dominant. You also see this in cats, like black cats, white cats, and you end up with black and white at the same time. So what does it mean when I say traits show co-dominance, like these flowers, for instance? It means that 2 alleles, like red and white, responsible for a third color. It doesn't show dominant. I can't say here that red is dominant to white or the other way around, right? In pink, they're both expressed. And usually that's the case when I read the question and I see 3 different colors and one color is like a mixture of the 2, then that is also codominance. Now, I want one of you to help me out with this problem. This bunny here, you see him? He grew up and he met the bunny of his dreams here. Take a look. He was BW, right? He met this other bunny here and they bred together. Who could predict what is their genotype of their offspring? Can someone tell? I'm crossing that grayish color with another bunny who's gray. And I want to find out what their offspring's genotype is going to be like. Jenna, can you try? So what's it going to
They may either be or the W capital.
So in this case, they could have what? They could have black, they could have gray, like their selves, and they could be white. So you can end up with 3 different possible colors this time. And that's always the case with codominance. If both parents are heterozygous like these ones here, then they end up with 3 different colors. Now, in humans, we have traits that show codominance, like blood groups. You see what his blood group is? His blood group is A. And usually, if someone has blood group A, that tells you what? That tells you that he has a dominant trait, because in humans, having blood group O is recessive. Even if you have blood group B, it's a dominant trait to O. But if A and B are equally dominant, meaning A and B show co-dominance here. So let me show you like the possibilities. If you blood group A, then you are either or, because O is recessive. Just like if you have brown eyes, right? If your blood group is B, then you are either BB or BO. But if your blood group is O, then you have no choice. And if your blood group is A, it's possible for parents whose blood group is A and B to have a child whose blood group is O. Can someone prove to us how is it possible parents have blood group A and B to have a child whose blood group is totally different? Oh, who could show us how is this possible? Okay, so let's pick Miss Ala. Can you help? What am I supposed to choose for the parents here?
Both of them have AO.
So they both are AO and the mom is BO, right? In this case, there's 25% chance of AB, 25% chance of B, 25% of O, and 25% of A, meaning they could have a child with any possible blood group, okay? My other thing here, which is quite helpful to understand, is the fact that in humans, gender is decided by the male. Males decide the gender of the baby, meaning if she is pregnant, she will have equal chance of having a male to a female. The baby could be 50% chance of being a boy and 50% chance of being a girl. Just to remember that in humans, X is the genotype of a girl and X is the genotype of a boy. In other words, if we had the male and a female, and she's pregnant, and she asks you, what's the likelihood of having a boy to have a girl? What are you going to tell her? You're going to tell her it's always 50-50. How do you prove it? First, she could pass X, and he passes an X. Then it's a girl, right? She could pass an X, and he passes a Y. Then it's a boy, right? And X, that's a girl. And the last chance is X and Y, and that's a boy. You can see half the squares are boys, half are girls. If she had 6 previous boys, the 7th time she's pregnant, the chance of a boy to a girl is always going to be 50-50, right? Just keep this in mind, that previous occurrences don't change the future. If I flip the coin and I get head for 60 times, 61st time, I try again, chance still 50-50. What happened in the past, don't decide what's going to happen in the future. Okay? So far, they all see colors. All right, we're lucky here that everyone sees colors here. And why am I only asking boys for that? Because it's more likely to have colorblind males than colorblind females. Why is it more likely in boys? Because males have 2 different chromosomes. The gene for seeing colors is only found on the X chromosome. The Y chromosome is very small. In other words, there's no gene for color vision on the Y chromosome. And if you're a male, you could be either seeing colors, having the B capital for color vision, which is dominant, or having a B small, and in this case, you'll be colorblind. On the other hand, for females, she could be one of 3 things. She could be seeing colors, B capital, homozygous dominant. She could be heterozygous and she would still be able to see colors, or she could be homozygous recessive. And that's not likely, right? So being color is way more likely to be in males than females, because females are luckier when it comes to this disorder because they got 2 chromosomes. And actually, if boy turned out to be colorblind, then he must have received it from his mom. But again, if you're a boy and you don't see colors very well, then you must have inherited this from your mom. Before we get there, let's just try something. I want somebody to pick the genotype of a healthy. Can someone pick what is the possible genotype of a female who is fully healthy? What am I going to pick here? Lujain?
B for accent.
So that is a healthy. Who's going to pick the genotype of a female who's a carrier? What does a carrier mean? Meaning she looks perfectly healthy, but she has the allele for colorblindness hidden inside. X carrier means that she sees colors, but it's hidden inside. But she's a heterozygous in other way. For that reason, what am I going to pick? I'm going to pick this. That's a carrier. What about the genotype of someone who's unhealthy? Female that is unhealthy? Tell me, Mia? That's right. So that is a female who's unhealthy. For males, you could be healthy, you could be unhealthy, but there are no carriers males. Why there's no carrier males? Because it doesn't exist. He only has 1 X chromosome. He can't have X be capital, X be small, because he's a male at the end of the day, right? So let me show you why, if a male is colorblind, then he must have inherited from his mom. First of all, I write the genotype of the mom. The mom says here, it says that she's a carrier. So what am I supposed to write for her? I'm going to write X, be capital, X, okay? And for the dad, look what it says. It says that he is healthy. So what am I supposed to write? Be capital and Y, just the Y without anything, because the Y chromosome doesn't have the gene in the first place. First thing, I'll have a girl and she's healthy. Second, I'll have a girl who's a carrier, just like her mom. Then I'll have a boy who's healthy. But finally, there's a boy here who is colorblind, right? Why is he colorblind? Because he has inherited this from his mom. Say, why do you only inherit this from your mom? Because your dad, if you're a male, your dad must give you the Y. To be a male, you must inherit the Y chromosome from your dad. And then the X will come from your mom. So boys know for sure where their X chromosome come from. Actually, there is another case, another disease that is sex-linked. A sex-linked disease is the one. Let's write this definition just in case. So sex-linked disease. Can you write that definition here? Sex-linked disease. This is a disease that is more likely in males. What are the examples we have? The examples we have is colorblindness. And my second example is the one I have here. This is called hemophilia. Usually when I see a word started with hem, that's like blood, like hemoglobin. This is a case of people born with problem where it takes too long for the blood to clot. They're missing one important factor necessary for their blood to clot. Whenever they have a skin cut, it takes too long for them to form the blood clot. And once again, this is sex-linked. In other words, if the mom is a carrier, then it's likely that one of her male children is gonna inherit the disease. Just like what we did last time. I write the gene of the father and the mother here, and then we cross them out. So a girl who's healthy, another girl, this time is a carrier, a boy who's healthy, and 25% chance for a boy who is having the disease. There are rare cases of sex-linked disorder where it's more likely in females, but it's way more common to have these issues in males. I want you to try this. I have these 2 parents here. So again, these are the parents I have in this family, and is asking me, can they have a girl with hemophilia in this case? So is it possible to have a girl that has that disease? Can someone decide? Aiden?
No.
They cannot, right? Why? Because she must inherit that from her dad. The dad is going to protect her, right? The dad will give her an H capital, and there's no way she'll have it. She's always going to be a carrier in this case. What about this? Can they have a boy with the disease? So let's figure out, is there a chance for them to have a boy, but the boy has the disease? Lujain?
Yes.
It is, right? because the mom has the disease. So the boy 100% will have the disease. The boy will inherit the Y chromosome, right? And mom will only give him healthy allele here this time, right? There is 0 chance here, 0% chance of having any boy with the disease, because he will inherit the Y from the dad, and the mom will only offer him healthy X chromosome. Is there a chance for a girl this time to have the disease? Let's think about it. Any chance here? Abakir?
50-50.
She will inherit that X chromosome from her dad, and she can inherit this one from her mom. So that's one possibility. She will inherit that X chromosome from the dad again and could inherit that from her mom. Therefore, the chance, as he said, is 50-50. And my last question of the day is this one. Can they have a boy who has the disease this time? Is there a chance here, Leanne?
50-50 chance.
Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance. That one here and that one here. Because the mom is a carrier and the dad will only offer him a Y chromosome. Can you guess what that word is? It's some word we took today. Can somebody guess for us? Very good. She figured it out. Okay, good one.
Type.
Genotype.
Gotcha.
And the last word is this one. You guess this one, you're paying so much attention. Do you know what that, Jenna?
I don't know.
And Aiden?
Cross test or test cross?
Test. Very good. Tomorrow we're going to practice questions about this topic. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.